Family Shield Ministries has a vision. Working in partnership with the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod and other gospel-oriented Christian organizations, Family Shield seeks to impact the world for Christ and transform lives in time for eternity. Family Shield Ministries also has a mission to educate and equip people through the power of the gospel to know Christ, grow in His Word, and strengthen individuals and their families. But along with all this, Family Shield also has a need for partnership and support from caring Christians to help with the vision and mission of family ministry. How can you help? Your donation of any size can be made securely through PayPal at FamilyShieldMinistries.com. You'll find the Click to Give tab about midway down the page. Your financial support and your prayers help keep Family Shield on the air and ministering to families through the power of Jesus Christ. FamilyShieldMinistries.com.
What are 8 simple tools for raising great kids? Why should we control our volume knob? What does listening have to do with parenting effectively? Why should we understand the power of our words? And why is regular family time so important? Join us today as I interview Dr. Todd Cartmell, author of 8 Simple Tools for Raising Great Kids. He is a clinical child psychologist and author of several parenting books. He and his wife live in Chicago and have 2 sons. This is Kay Meyer, president of Family Shield Ministries, and your host for today's program. Thanks for being my guest today on Family Shield.
Well, hi, Kay, and it's great to be with you, so thanks for the invitation.
You're very welcome. So you've worked with children and parents for more than 20 years and have probably seen just about everything when it comes to families. What are some of the greatest issues families are struggling with today?
Well, I do see a lot of kids nowadays. Again, as you said, I have for a while. Well, in some ways, it's really the issues haven't changed a whole lot. Kids learning how to handle situations in a respectful way, whether it's listening to mom or dad, or handling problems with their brothers or sisters, or making good choices with their friends. The same kind of issues take on a bit of a new face with social media and texting, and just some of the current cell phones and whatever the different technologies. But a lot of the same topics that parents are trying to just figure out how to raise kids who are being a lot of times we'll say smart and respectful. Those are 2 pretty good. You don't get in too much trouble for being smart and respectful. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of parents are trying to do: figure out how to help their kids develop those types of traits, certainly in a God-centered way as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, you've identified 8 simple tools to help parents raise great kids and build a close family that loves God and one another. What are these tools? Let's talk about each one a little bit so that our listeners know what they are, and then we'll flush out a little bit more about your book.
Sure. Happy to. Well, the 8 tools, if I were just to list them kind of briefly, first one is talking. We want to talk in a way that will make our kids not just listen to us, but want to listen to us. So we want to be good communicators as parents. The second half of communication would be tool number 2, which is listening. Again, to flip that around, if we want our kids to feel comfortable talking to us as parents, then we had better learn how to be good listeners. We want to connect with our kids. That's tool number 3. If we want a close family, that means a connected family, and there's things that we can do to build those connections nice and strong. We want to influence our kids. That's tool number 4, by using our words wisely, because our words certainly shape how our kids learn to think and how they think about themselves, and so that's just a big deal. Every parent is tool number 5. I don't know if I have this in the exact right order. I'm doing them kind of from memory.
That's all right.
But tool number 5 is teaching, and every parent is in the role of being a teacher. There's so many lessons we want our kids to learn, and we want to be just a very effective teachers, whether it's again the lessons about decision making or problem solving or being flexible, all sorts of things like that. Number 6, we want to be an encouraging parent. Who doesn't need some encouragement? And our kids certainly fall in that category. And we want to be parents who look for the positives and point them out, and then help our kids really be glad they're making good choices. And then number 7, the converse side of that would be when they make bad choices, we want to correct them in a way kind of ties back into teaching. Any discipline or correction situation is simply a teaching situation where we want our kids to learn the right lessons about a bad choice and learn the right lessons the right way. And that's our job to do that, and we can certainly do that. And then you combine all those together for tool number 8, which is leading. We want our kids to learn all those important lessons. Well, what's the best way for them to do that? To see if we want our kids to be, respectful talkers and good listeners and make good choices, then we can certainly model that with our own example. So there's your 8 tools.
Awesome. Some of these tools seem so simple, and yet sometimes they seem so hard to implement. Are today's parents simply overwhelmed?
Well, I think some of them are. I don't know how new of a experience that is. That may not be that new, but yeah, certainly I do run into moms and dads who, for different reasons, might feel overwhelmed. Sometimes it's they've got a bunch of kids. Sometimes it's they're juggling kids and work. Sometimes they've got a challenging kid or two. So there's So there's just different reasons why our mom or dad may feel overwhelmed. Sometimes you've got a parent who's got one kid who's more challenging than some other parents, all 3 kids put together. So certainly run into that, and I know you feel mostly overwhelmed when you've got a challenging kid situation and you can't, nothing you're doing is working. You can't figure out, what to do about it. So that's when you really start to feel like you're sinking, and then sometimes that brings out responses that aren't the best, and then you feel like you're part of making things worse, and it really gets to be very discouraging sometimes. Yeah, so I've seen lots of parents in that state, at least initially.
Yeah. So one of the tools that you recommend is talking. How can we as parents do better when talking to our children?
Well, okay, if I was going to give a couple little talking tips that really all of your listeners hopefully would find helpful. First of all, I guess would just be to realize and just to remember, that this is perhaps just a good reminder, just the importance of, how we talk to our kids. Our kids are going to learn to talk. It's funny every now and then I'll see a kid who's like swearing a little bit, and then I always get the biggest kick when it turns out that he heard his swear words from mom or dad. It's like okay, so the way we talk, not just something obvious like swearing, but the style that we talk with, respectful, raising our voice, yelling, sound short, sound intense, our kids are going to hear that thousands and thousands of times, and their talking style will certainly be impacted by that. So, but if we want our kids to listen to us, if we want to be good communicators, 2 things, 2 practical tips besides just realizing the importance of your talking style. In terms of shaping the course for your family's communication style would be number 1. Most parents I know are, I suppose, most at risk for making a talking error when they're frustrated. When they're in a frustrating situation. And probably the simplest, but even maybe the best tip I can give there would be when you sense, you're in a frustrated situation, that's when your talking style is most likely to get, aggravated sounding or maybe move to yelling or whatnot. Best thing you can do there is just take a quick pause. Just hit the pause button real quick, which literally might take no more than 2 or 3 seconds. But in that pause, a couple of really important things happen. First of all, you stop whatever was going to happen, and that's probably good. Mm-hmm. And you give yourself just a couple seconds to think, and your brain can move pretty fast. And as a parent, when you stop, you're pausing. Of course, your kids are seeing you do this, which is wonderful example setting. In that moment, you have a chance to think and ask yourself, "Hey, how do I want to talk to my kids? If I was a kid, how would I want someone to talk to me right now?" And you have a chance just to adjust. And then when you adjust, you're going to have a chance then to say whatever you're going to say. It'll probably be calmer and better. And you can also talk softer. So pausing and talking softer. And talking softer is a little counterintuitive, especially in a frustrating situation, because you tend to talk louder, and it's really your emotions and frustrations kind of taking over your volume control. But when you talk softer, it's really interesting because, number one, you can say any words you were going to say loud, you can say the same words soft. But when you say them softer, you're more in control. You sound more in control, and you are changing the flavor of that conversation, because a softer conversation is going to be way better than a louder one. And when you get louder, then your kids tend to get louder. You escalate up the ladder, or you can lead the way down the ladder. And that those two tips right there will help a bunch of situations that could have gone south, help them not go south.
That's great. Well, some of us tend toward yelling. How do we break the yelling habit so we can better communicate with our children?
Well, I think even just the things we just said would go a long way towards that. Pausing when you catch yourself in a yelling situation. Sometimes it's good to know, even as a parent, to do a little reflection and a little preparation even, and figure out the situations in which you tend to kind of lose it. Maybe is it about bedtimes? Is it, I suppose they're probably the situations where your kid doesn't listen too well. And in those situations, be prepared. Go in there prepared to handle them the right way. A lot of times this gets into how a parent thinks to themselves. I know one of the what I would call a parent flexible thought that I would certainly use a lot when my kids are of kind of this age and I'd be in a situation like this, is I'd say to myself, hey, do I want to follow their example, or do I want them to follow my example? And that one would stop me in my tracks real fast. And so, but you go into the situation mentally prepared and thinking, well, hey, they're messing up already. I don't want to mess up too. I want to show them how to handle it right. And so when you go in there with that kind of a mindset, then you're much more, you have a much better probability of, again, pausing, talking softer, talking slower. Slow and soft would be the two magic words there.
Good.
Pausing and then slow and soft. And when you talk softer and you literally slow down the pace of the conversation, again, you just simply create a different conversation and a different conversation style. And your kids haven't done that. You've done that by pausing and going slow and soft.
Great, great. One of the things that I want to mention before we go on is how much I like your book and how you've organized it, but especially your stories, because, of course, you work every day with children and parents, sometimes having some serious issues, and you apply these 8 simple tools, helping the parents and the children in their own lives. And it is a book full of practical information for parents. Tell us just a little bit about the organization, how you have it organized.
Oh, sure. Well, I was trying to think of just, again, I've just worked with kids. I'm a child psychologist, as you said, and have just seen a lot of kids and a lot of families of a lot of ages over a lot of years. And, after a while, you kind of see what seems to be helpful. You see what isn't helpful. You have family sessions or, of all sorts of different kinds. And I've seen parents handle really difficult subjects like incredibly well. I've seen parents handle really easy subjects incredibly poorly. And so, you just see a lot of examples, and then over time you kind of say, well, parents that are really doing a nice job, even with very difficult kids or a bunch of kids or whatever it might be. Here's the types of things that I notice they tend to do, and here's how they talk, and here's how they listen. And so I just tried to think of the different components to that, and tried to come up with the fewest possible. And when I think about the list of 8. Talking, listening, connecting, influencing, teaching, encouraging, correcting, and leading, I really can't find one that I would take off the list. I mean, it seems to be the small list. And so I just organized it in a way that seemed practical and simple. Each of the tools, and I don't know if 8 sounds like a lot, but they're things that we do all the time anyway. It's the question of, are we going to do them intentionally and effectively? We're going to teach. We're not just going to start teaching because it's in this book. We already teach and we already influence, and we're going to either listen or not. So each of these tools are part of our lives as parents already. It's a question of whether we want to learn how to do them better, how to do them as well as we can, and because when we do, I've seen Okay, I've seen families where we focused on even just a few of these tools, and their parents have really made big changes, and just a couple of changes in how they talk or how they listen or how they teach or how they correct. Just right there, that's 4 of them. That I've seen entire families has really changed in how they walk through problems, and the kids' behavior improved, and parents' behavior improving, and that trickles down, let alone if they're working on all 8 of them. So, yeah, certainly something that I wanted to make it nice and doable and bite-sized, and It seemed like a good way to divide it up so that anybody can read the book and just, find some practical tips. And every one of the 8 tools is divided into 5 chapters. Each has a nice practical takeaway, so it should be really easy to digest and put into practice.
It is. I'm going to make a few announcements. When we come back, we're going to talk about listening and why that's so important as we parent our children. Family Shield's 2017 theme is Always Be Ready to Give an Answer, based on 1 Peter 3:15. Thank you for your partnership in the gospel as we share Christ with our listeners and help them know Christ, grow in His Word, and strengthen their families. Today, Family Shield is giving away the booklet on parenting. To request the complimentary booklet, call our response center, 1-877-250-8416. Our email, witnesstofamily@gmail.com. Thankfully, the gospel is free, but our radio airtime on 54 stations is not. Your prayers and support make our radio outreach beyond the walls of the church possible. Please pray for us and consider a gift this year. You can charge a gift at www.familyshieldministries.com, or you can send your gift to Family Shield Ministries, P.O. Box 230015, St. Louis, Missouri 63123. With a gift this year of $50 or more, we'll send you my new 6-week Bible study entitled Balanced, Christ-Filled Living. And with a gift of $100 or more, we'll send you my book entitled Witnessing a Lifestyle. You can, again, charge a gift on our website, or you can mail your donation to Family Shield, P.O. Box 230015, St. Louis, Missouri 63123. We encourage you to sign up to receive our email newsletter on our website, or send us your email and we'll do it for you. You can also contact us at witnesstofamily@gmail.com. Now I want to go back to our guest, Dr. Todd Cartmell, author of 8 Simple Tools for Raising Great Kids. And you talk about, you compare listening to emptying a dump truck. What's the connection?
Well, sure. That maybe doesn't seem entirely obvious at first, but I think I can make it that way. When you think about kids, they're often like a dump truck in a certain way. Dump trucks, well, first of all, they're full of stuff. Dump trucks are, with whatever, dirt, rocks, and concrete and things. Now, our kids aren't filled with dirt, rocks, and concrete, but they are filled, and they're filled with things that to us parents are incredibly, incredibly valuable. Their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, what's going on that day. I have 2 boys. Those are incredibly important to me, and I know, as it would be for all your listeners and yourself. So our kids, they are filled up with things, and I guess that's the second point. They're like a dump truck filled with diamonds, we could say, maybe not rocks. But the second point of a dump truck is it can only, you can't fill it up infinitely. It gets filled up to a certain point, and then it's kind of filled up. And when a dump truck gets filled up, there's really only one thing for it to do. It has to unload somewhere. And that's, in my mind, just a great kind of metaphor of listening. When our kids get filled up, they have to unload. And listening is just letting your kids unload their truck, but treating the things in the truck like they're really, really valuable to you, because they are.
They are.
So you've got a dump truck with diamonds getting unloaded, and you want to catch every single one of those. And that's what listening is. And when you're listening to your kids in that way, when you're really, really you care about what's in, what happened at lunch at the lunch table and how they're feeling about this, or they think this is unfair, or that, or somebody hurt their feelings, or whatever it is. When you treat those things like they're really, really valuable to you, and you've got a kid who goes, wow, I'm so glad that I unloaded my truck with Mom or with Dad, because they're going to unload the truck somewhere. And for my boys, one of my goals certainly has been so that when they're done talking with me, that they go away thinking, man, Dad really cared about. He really listened super good to what I had to say. Next time my truck gets filled up, I know where I'm going to go to unload it again, and I'm going to go unload it with Dad or with Mom. And so every one of us have the chance to listen so well that our kids will say, hey, that's one of my favorite unloading spots. Because one thing is for sure, they're going to get filled up again. Okay. And they're going to tend to go to the spots that they feel, treat them with care and concern and value, and we want that to be us.
Good. Can you explain what you call the family respect rule?
Sure can. Yeah, that's a good one. This is a good one when you kind of get into the siblings and things. Yeah, family respect rule, very simple. It simply goes like this. Every person in our family, everyone in our family needs to treat everyone else in our family respectfully all the time. So that's it verbatim. Taught that to a lot of kids and families. And there's three important, not just a rule, there's three important aspects to it that I would then talk to the kids about. I say, well, number one, the family respect rule, as I've just stated it, applies to whom? And the answer, of course, is everyone. Well, everyone, and I would say this right to the kids, everyone starts with Mom and Dad. Everyone means everyone, but there should be nobody in this family who works harder to follow the family respect rule than Mom or Dad. For myself, I'll say than me. If I want my kids to be respectful, then I need to make sure that I follow that family respect rule super, super good to give them a picture of what that looks like. Number two, family respect rule applies when? Well, the last three words, all the time. And all the time really means all the time. When you're happy, when you're sad, when you're joking, when you're mad, when you're tired, when you're hungry, in the morning, at night, after school, just pick a time when you're playing a game, when you win, when you lose. It applies all the time, and that's really important because we're saying that there's never a time in our family, in anything we're doing as a family, there's never a time when it's okay for me to hurt someone else in my family with my words or my actions. There's never a time when that's okay. So, and that's true for, of course, everybody. So number one, who. Number two, when. Number three, what's the basis for the family respect rule? And we might say, well, everyone in our family was created by who? By God. Everyone in our family is super important to who? Well, to God and to us, to our family. Well, what do you do with things that are really, valuable or important? Like if we have a special puzzle we just put together and want to keep it, or a special Lego thing, or a special thing that someone gave us, or we have something expensive. Do we just leave it out in the backyard? Do we, put it by the garbage can? No, we put it somewhere safe. We maybe put it somewhere high so the dog can't chew on it. Things are important. You treat them with value, or you treat them with a great deal of respect. Mm-hmm. And so we said, well, that's why we treat each other respectful in our family, because everyone in our family is super valuable to God and to each other. And we want to treat people of value carefully, and we want to guard each other. It's not okay if I hurt my boys with the way I talk to them. It's not okay if any of that. And that's why, because of who God made us, and we're valuable to God, valuable to each other. That's why being respectful is so important, and that's why when we're not respectful to each other, when we're hurtful to each other, that's why privileges or things go away, because we have to learn that lesson that we have to treat each other respectfully, because that is who God made us to be. We are, and if we want to have a close family, we don't have a close family by hurting each other with our words and actions, kind of picking the bad, easy ideas. We want to pick ideas that are smart and that will help our family be close. And if we can't figure out how to do that, then that's where Mom and Dad will help you. I'll help you figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's what stems from the family respect rule.
Wonderful
discussions.
That's excellent. And again, you flush all of that out in your book. So you also encourage parents to water their own lawn regularly. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, water the whole lawn.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that gets into the idea of encouraging, and thinking about your kids as they're portions of grass on your lawn. And number one, if watering is like your positive attention, and you have a dry spot, well, you want to water that dry spot. And boy, I tell you, Kay, you probably already know this, but you can get a lot of positive, focused attention from a parent, said in a very specific way, not like, "Hey, pal, nice job." but hey, pal, I asked you to turn off the TV the first time, buddy, and you did it right away. I really appreciate that. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. That kind of stuff is what I call the pour it on technique, and that kind of very focused, positive attention given on a regular basis can just like do amazing things in a family in terms of kids going, wow, geez, I didn't know that was going to work out so well. I think I'll do that again, because a parent's attention is just so rewarding. It's so intrinsically powerful. And so, if you've got one dry patch of grass, you got one kid who needs a little extra that to help turn their behavior around, you certainly do that. But you don't forget about the rest of the lawn. So you want to be kind of dishing those things out just all over the place to all your kids, especially the ones who need it. But even the ones who maybe have some better habits already, you want that part of the lawn to stay green. So you just want to be like a living sprinkler, just sprinkling that stuff all over the place. And that was not a natural thing for me. Just not that my parents weren't encouraging. I don't mean to say that, but yeah, my parents were a little more reserved, so I just wasn't really used to that. But boy, I got used to it when I kind of learned some of this stuff and thought, boy, this makes sense to me. I got used to it real quick, and as a dad, and I just made that just part of my dad behavior. And so, any parent can certainly do that, even if it's not a natural thing for you. And boy, you just create a very positive, encouraging family environment. And boy, that's what you want to do. The more you get the good habits going, the less bad habits you have to turn around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My guest is Dr. Todd Cartmell. His book, 8 Simple Tools for Raising Great Kids. And let me just recommend it to you, your church libraries, others that might be interested. It's a great book with so many good examples, as well as flushing out those 8 tools for raising great kids. Again, this is Kay Meyer with Family Shield, and we're giving away a booklet today on parenting. If you'd like to get that, call our response center or email us. Again, if you want to learn more about Family Shield Ministries, go to our website at www.familyshieldministries.com. We also have a Facebook page. We'd love you to check out our Facebook page or sign up for our email newsletter on our website, or just email us and tell us you'd like us to do it for you. That comes out on at least a monthly basis with devotionals and information about the program. Again, this is Kay Meyer with Family Shield. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Family Shield, a production of Family Shield Ministries. Its mission is to educate and equip people through the power of the gospel to know Christ, grow in His Word, and to strengthen individuals and their families. To learn how you can obtain resources or support the ministry, go to www.familyshieldministries.com or write Family Shield Ministries, P.O. Box 230015, St. Louis, Missouri 63123. And tune in again next week for Family Shield.